Hi, I'm your host, Phil Hoffman, and welcome to Pause. In this episode, we'll be talking to public educators from around our viewing area who have been awarded the American Graduate Champion by KMOS and us here at PBS. Stay tuned. Pause is coming up. Pause. We're here today talking with folks from around our viewing area who are educators and involved in education and who have won the KMOS American Graduate Champion Award. And joining us first on the program right now is Susan Blackburn. Susan is with the Columbia Public Schools and works in the reading recovery area as a teacher leader. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So let's talk a little bit about reading recovery, one of our award winners this year. Tell me a little bit about what the program is.
Well, the program is for first grade students who are struggling to learn to read and write. And so what the program does is it identifies those kids most at risk at the beginning of first grade, and within 12 to 20 weeks brings them up to within the average range of the classroom. So nationally, about 75% of our kids get up within that average range, and so we're really proud of those results. It dramatically changes a child's life when they can learn to read, and from the instant they're able to do that, their world changes. So it's an exciting program to be a part of, and it works with lots of kids.
Now, you hear a lot nowadays about testing and all that sort of thing. And I know for me as a parent, you always think, oh, gee, they're so little. I don't want them to be tested yet. Mm-hmm. But obviously, as we've discussed, this particular test is really critical for students, not only at that moment, but future in their future schooling career. So talk a little bit about, to allay people's fears about, oh, this is this intense kind of testing.
Right, that's an excellent question. Our program is a little bit different than other reading programs. It's proactive in nature. So what we like to do is identify those kids that are at risk at the very beginning of first grade. We want to prevent literacy failure. So it helps that we have the assessments early on, and then we know right away what the child's strengths are and what the weaknesses are. And then once we're able to look at that, we're able to come up with a plan for the child, and so that they can be instructed with things that help them learn at a quick rate.
And certainly for a youngster who is just starting school, this is their first real, if you want to call it that, first grade, it can be very daunting if almost immediately you're sort of labeled as oh, this kid has a problem. So talk a little bit about how that's approached and how you work with the students so they don't feel like they are at a loss.
Right, and with that issue of the minute a child knows that they're struggling in the classroom, they know it. They know they're falling behind, and so you have a whole myriad of issues that come up with that. And so in first grade, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, generally lots of kids are pulled out of the classroom. It's a supplemental program. It's designed to work in conjunction with the classroom. So those kids, there's lots of kids coming out of the classroom at that point, so they don't feel stigmatized. And then we're able to work with them one-on-one, which is an incredible boost in confidence. And then we also work on writing too. So reading and writing develop reciprocally, and so both of those things they're able to gain confidence with, better skills with, and hopefully right up within the average by the end of the school year, or the 20 weeks.
And it's kind of amazing to think that in such a relatively short period of time, you can take somebody who's having, what is it about reading recovery that lets that happen? How is it different than just helping a student in class a little bit more?
That's another really good question. It's one-on-one, and so we're able to tailor the instruction to that particular child. Kids that are having trouble learning to read, it's not a huge monolithic group. There's different issues that different kids have, and so we're able to identify specific issues to that child, develop the instruction to help them learn to read, and then put that in place quickly. It's very much a program that demands teachers' accountability. There's high expectations for teachers that provide the reading recovery services, and that expectation that every child can learn to read.
And for a parent who's watching this, I'm sure that those parents struggle with it. Did I not do something? Did I do something wrong? In your experience as you've worked with reading recovery, how much of a factor is it in the parental environment that brings a kid to school that's not ready versus maybe just something that is, a trait within that child?
And there's many factors that go into that whole discussion. One of the things that reading recovery is, it's part of early childhood education, and so it's kind of a three-prong approach. You have quality preschool experiences, rigorous classroom instruction, and then reading recovery serves as that safety net for those kids, even with all those things in place, who just need that additional one-on-one intervention to help them move along and become part of the average band of the classroom.
So when you talk to parents and they're concerned and they say, gosh, did I cause this?
Right.
What do you typically say to them?
What I typically say to them is, lots of things that we can put in place in our homes, and reading aloud to kids obviously is fabulous, oral language development, conversing with your child, all of those things the parent may very well have put in place. Sometimes kids at the beginning are just a little bit confused on literacy, how reading works. So many things go into it, how writing works. And so I tell those parents that we're really fortunate to have this program in place for them. It's a short-term program. It's like half of first grade. And so if I can talk to that parent and say, let me worry about it for just a little while, and if we can work with that child to move them along.
Well, and certainly if you break it down and you think about this piece of paper that I have in front of me, I'm supposed to be able to look at all these squiggles, understand the context and the meaning, and then convert that into speech based on what I'm reading. That's a very complex act.
It is a very complex act, and reading recovery recognizes that reading acquisition is a complex process. There's many things that can hinder a child, and there's many things, if the child has a strength, that make it easier for a child to read. But as you said, looking at those squiggles on the paper, something as simple as reading left to right, and then that we call it return sweep, going to the next line. Some kids are confused by that at the very beginning. They just need very explicit instruction, and then that hopefully moves them quickly along, and they're able to join their classmates.
And for a student that has gone through reading recovery, talk a little bit about sort of what their end process looks like. How do they know, okay, you're done with reading recovery?
And so we have lots of checks and balances in place in reading recovery. Kids that are ready to what we call graduate or discontinue from our program have what we call a self-extending system. And so they've developed enough literacy skills that we predict that they'll continue to grow as readers with really regular, good classroom instruction. And so once they get up to a certain level, and they're doing things that we think are strategic, and they look really strong, then we start to ask ourselves, do they still need this one-on-one intervention, or are they up in the average range and they don't need us anymore?
So, and ultimately, your goal is not to be needed anymore. That's really
exactly
what you're after.
Right.
Is it typical that a student in that pattern of the first few weeks, you find most students move to that point of self-sufficiency?
Nationally, it's about 75% that have the opportunity for a complete program get up within that average range. 25% or so may not, and that might be a good place to go to see if we need additional literacy services in place for them. But 75% of them do, and so those strong results. Also, if you think about reading recovery, it's a very proactive approach. So instead of things like retaining a child in first grade, it's half of the year, and you can really get in there and give them that really good instruction, and you can keep them from a special education referral. And some kids need that, and that's fabulous. Other kids don't, though. And if we can really give them that good, strong instruction, obviously, that's a much more positive outcome for them.
And probably a great relief to the parents, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. So,
when we look at the program overall, you had mentioned earlier there's a lot of research that supports the outcomes that you see anecdotally. Can you talk a little bit about why this program is different than maybe other programs out there?
Well, reading recovery is one of the most well-researched and powerful reading interventions out there. The What Works Clearinghouse, which is an initiative of the United States Department of Education, takes a look at all sorts of interventions, and it's giving reading recovery some of the highest ratings in terms of a reading program. Wow. So we have the research behind us, which makes us obviously feel really good about what we're doing.
So if I have a child that's in school, and maybe they're not in Columbia Public Schools, maybe they're in another school system, is it likely that my system also has reading recovery, or is it relatively rare?
That depends. It depends on, honestly, the state you're in, the level of commitment reading recovery has within a certain district or a certain area. I'm glad to be available to give information, and I would also encourage people, if they're interested in the program, or if it's a parent that's wondering about a child, they can go to the Reading Recovery Council of North America's website, and there's a wealth of information there that can get a parent started. There's a whole section, in fact, on parents and parent questions, so that would be an excellent place to start.
And so, as you mentioned earlier, if I'm a parent basic things that I can do that might help are reading to my child.
Absolutely. Reading out loud to your child every single day is one of the foundational things in terms of reading, of learning to read. The other thing is talking with your child, that conversing back and forth. Oral language is a strong component of learning to read. So both of those things, I would obviously encourage very much with parents.
And both things that are relatively easy to do. It's pretty straightforward.
Not expensive.
Right.
Public
you don't have to
library.
spend a lot of money, right?
Exactly. So all of those things really help kids learn to read.
Now, we only have a couple minutes left, but I'm wondering, you've been doing this long enough now. Once you see a student get to that point where they're self-sufficient, what does that typically mean for them later in their academic career? Can you talk a little bit about the change that you see?
Sure. If their child has successfully discontinued, that means we've taken a child that's very much at the bottom of the class, the most struggling student, and we've put them up within the average of the class. And so that has a huge impact on self-esteem, on future academics, on all sorts of things that make school experiences really strong for kids. So those experiences and those the outcome of the program, it's just wonderful to see them get up and be within the average of the class.
Well, Susan, we appreciate you joining us today, and we're proud to award your school system and Reading Recovery our American Graduate Champion. Thank you so much for all you do for the students at Columbia.
Thank you so much, too. It's an honor. Thank you.
We will be back talking more about public education right here in your backyard in Versailles coming up in just a minute. Stay with us.
My granddaughter is named June Elizabeth, but I call her Junebug. My hope is to teach her about kindness and about the love of animals and nature. I want Junebug to have the same opportunities I had by watching PBS. My husband and I feel so strongly about our PBS station that we've included them in our estate plan.
Call 1-800-753-3436.
PBS is part of our values, and we want to pass it on to the next generation.
What if news wasn't just a commodity,
but a commitment?
The fiscal cliff is a fiscal suicide.
Why shouldn't we explore every side of the story?
The Syrian army had pulled back.
Where can you turn for news you can trust?
How do we make sense of something like this?
On PBS, we believe journalism should never stop asking questions.
Give to your PBS station and support independent journalism.
We answer to no one but you.
Who says we can't know how a Civil War soldier felt, or what it's like to change the rules of the game? Ken Burns pioneered a new way to tell America's story, and only PBS gives filmmakers like him a place to push the boundaries of what TV can do. Give to this PBS station so stories like these are available now and for generations to come.
What if we could unlock every mystery?
we're at the beginning of a revolution.
That's a huge discovery.
That's never been done before, ever, anywhere.
Let's shop first.
No one feeds our curiosity like PBS. Give to your PBS station so future generations can keep asking, what if?
And welcome back to Pause. I'm your host, Dr. Phil Hoffman, and joining us now are some guests from Versailles School System. I want to welcome Jennifer Buckler, who is the Director of Special Services, and Special Services Educator, Toni Randall. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We're here today to, again, present you with the award for the American Graduate Champion, one of our leaders in education here in mid-Missouri. And I want to talk, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the Tiger Cookie Company. Who can not like a cookie company?
That is true. It is a really good program that has started in a middle school a few years ago where the kids would bake cookies and sell them. And over the years, it's kind of morphed into where we have our own Tiger store that we house there on campus. And we make all kinds of products. We bake, we can, we sew, we even do some laundry for the basketball team. You name it, we kind of do it. And it really gives the kids a sense of purpose and accomplishment. And it's a really great program that we're very proud of in our district.
And so what was the genesis of this? Where did it begin? Where was the idea from?
Well, we started the program in 2007, and we wanted our children to feel involved in school and learn good skills in the workplace. And so we thought everybody needs to cook, and there's a lot of work. We live at the lake area. There's a lot of businesses that need cooks and food servers and all these things. So we thought, like you said, who doesn't like cookies? Everybody likes cookies. So we actually went to our superintendent and school board, and we've got a little pot of money, $300, and we said we'll get it paid back by the end of the year, and we did. We sold cookies, and it has just grown and blossomed. And I have to tell one success story. A couple years later, after the business, we saw a young man working at a restaurant in the lake area. And so we were sitting there eating, and he's like, I just want to say thank you. I think I got this job because of the Tiger Cookie Company.
Fantastic.
It was just very rewarding. They learn a lot of good skills.
And it's kind of deceptively simple in a way, in the sense that you would think, oh, okay, a cookie is a little bit of sugar and flour, and I don't bake, but it doesn't seem like it's that complicated thing. So when a student tells you, if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have this job, what is it that you're really teaching them? Because clearly you're not really teaching them to make cookies, you're doing something else.
I think we're teaching them independence that they sometimes don't always feel. Because most of the students that I teach all have IEPs, and so academic classwork is sometimes more difficult for them. And so this gives them an opportunity to be successful in a life skills kind of way. So we can learn fractions in a way that's meaningful. And I think we're teaching them those skills that are required for them to be productive members of our society later on, and they're getting to feel those successes and failures in the safety net of our little world, and then they can go out and really build on those as they become young men and young women in our world.
And of course, the other part of this, I think, Jennifer, is that there's another aspect to this, which is inherently baking involves high temperatures. There's some risk there of somebody hurting themselves on a variety of implements and things like that. So did you have to do a lot of work to convince the folks at the school system that this was a good idea?
Yes, we had curriculum in place, and we showed those things to them. We started with food safety. We had to have a business plan and all these different things. And yeah, just like in shop class, they have to have tests over the tools in shop class. Yes, they had to have little learning labs about the mixer and the stove and all those things. And of course, it's well staffed. So, we're right in there alongside of them working and everything. So it wasn't too hard. Our kids are good kids.
Well, and certainly even on my best day, I could accidentally get my thumb caught in the blender or something. So I want to be careful about those kind of things.
You're going to jinx us. So far, knock on wood somewhere, we have not had any accidents.
Well, that's good. Now, obviously, good teaching, right? So as you started the program, obviously in the beginning, it was probably fairly small. When did you sort of realize, I think we're onto something here, something has changed now, it's getting bigger, or it's more important to the students or something? Do you remember that moment when you realized it was going to be something more than what you originally thought?
Well, and for me, this is my second year in the program, and so just I wasn't real familiar with it, but when I took it on, it was really amazing to me, just the ownership the kids have in it, and how proud they are anytime someone comes in the building and they want to show them the store, or they want to sell them something. To me, that's when they see that they've completed a project and they've actually made something themselves and it's all been them. That's a feeling that's amazing for them and just kind of lights up the whole room at the same time. And I'm moving on to the high school next year, so we'll be able to kind of take the program and make it more 6 through 12, where we're working together and really making it something that we feel will really benefit the kids in the community. And we're looking at long-term technology kind of goals, where we can have an online store and the kids can learn about how to check your orders online and how to go to the post office and how to mail things, and just the learning opportunities are endless for what we can kind of teach them and expose them to each and every day in a way that is so very meaningful to them.
You guys making the elves a bit nervous with that business plan, right? So how about in your case, Jennifer? I think you've been with the program a little bit longer. Was there a moment at which you realized, wow, this is more than I thought it was going to be?
I think, again, it came from the kids. They were really proud, and I started noticing that attendance rates improved. Kids wanted to come to school. They knew they had to be there. We were counting on them. They were like, oh, I was going to miss school, but I knew I had to be there because we had to get this order filled for the bank or whatever it was. And I just thought, this is really, really cool. We need to have this grow throughout our school. And since then we have. And I think that's what it was for me. It was the kids, and we knew we had to expand. And since then we have. I mean, we have so many Tiger businesses in the school. It's kind of a joke, actually. You know, we have the Tiger Smoothie Company now, the Tiger Woods Company, and just different things we've expanded, and it rotates depending upon the schedule and the children that we have that need whatever classes. So it's all about the kids.
And thinking about that, obviously part of that equation is also the parents. And so I'm wondering what kind of experiences you've had or feedback you've gotten from parents about their children's involvement in the program and what they think in terms of their perspective.
One of the things, it sounds like a simple idea really, but in high school, at the high school level, a lot of kids like to letter in some sort of sport or activity or something like that. And this is, for a lot of our kids, this is their activity. This is their extracurricular activity. And so one of the things they do, they can letter in the Tiger business. And so they can get a letter for their letter jacket and pins and stuff. And we've had more parents say, our kids are a part of the school. We go out, we go to the store, you know, everybody's like, hey, hi, and you know, because they're just a part of the school. And the parents are very, very appreciative of that, and they're very, very helpful. If we need supplies, they are there. If we need help at selling smoothies at a track meet or something, they are there. They're very, very much involved and happy to see their kids involved.
How about the profits and the eating of the profits? Do you have, I know it'd be an issue for me, oops, accidentally made that one wrong. Well, I guess I have to eat it.
No, the kids do a really good job. I think they understand that the items are for certain purposes, and that's part of it too. You've got to understand that there are different reasons and purposes for different things. They really do think the teachers eat a whole lot better than they do, because we do a lot of cooking for the teachers. But they're very good about that. They have learned not to kind of beg for things. And we're excited because the money goes directly back into our program. And so this year we were able to have mice and headphones, and we have Chromebooks in our classroom, so we were able to purchase Chromebook covers. And so those technology resources that really benefit our kids academically, we're kind of able to provide for ourselves. And so then they have that ownership of those items, and they understand, you know, we worked hard for these. I want to take care of them. We're not going to drop them on the floor, you know, and they're very protective of kind of our things because they worked to earn them. And I think that's a wonderful life lesson that they can learn, is that things aren't just handed to you. You have to earn them through hard work. And I think that's a lesson they've learned really well this year.
And just to clarify, the mice at the Tiger Cookie Company are the clicky kind, right?
Clicky kind,
okay,
not the live kind.
So if you were looking forward from this point, and I know you kind of alluded to it a little bit, Toni, but I'm wondering, Jennifer, if you can talk about where next, what would you like to see happen with the Tiger Cookie Company?
Toni talked a little bit about that. One thing we're really excited for in this upcoming year is our online store. We really want to get our products available online, so the kids, what better way to learn money than actually handling real money and all of those things. But our goal this year is really that online store, so we can take orders online. So they make laundry soap. We have laundry soap, and just it's kind of hard to manage right now, just having our store. So we're hoping to expand and get that online is a huge goal.
And obviously, as you mentioned earlier, Toni, that's a real skill as well in and of itself, just dealing with the online piece of it.
Yes. I think that right now we have like a Facebook page, and when we first got the Facebook page, the kids were so excited because they wanted to check the likes and who was making a comment, and it brings them into that technology world that is so important and really benefits our kids. I mean, there are so many technological advances that kind of help bridge that gap for the kids in my classroom. And so I think that taking it online also gives us an opportunity to reach people not just in our own little world, but out in the community and even farther, and just so many opportunities to talk about different places and people and things and the post office, and you know, just a way to use all those skills that we teach those kids when they're younger and actually start applying them to real life. We're really excited about that.
Reading becomes very important when you have to read in order. Counting money becomes very important when you're counting profits, and it just becomes very real, and they don't want to make a mistake.
Well, now we only have about a minute or so. If folks are interested in the Tiger Cookie Company, I know they can't buy it online yet, but where can they go to look for in the future to find information about Tiger Cookie and to look forward to when they can buy online?
That is on our school webpage, which is at www.mcr2.k12.mo.us, and there's a link on there to our Facebook page currently, and then of course we're hoping to expand that this year, and you could click on the Tiger store and just see all kinds of stuff.
Well, Jennifer and Toni, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. American Graduate Champion Program from Versailles. We thank you for joining us, and we will be back with more on Pause coming up in another week or so. We hope you'll stay tuned. In the meantime, you can always find information like the Tiger Cookie Company on our website, which is kmos.org. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time right here on Pause.